Anti-Israel protesters blocking the Brooklyn Bridge were burning the American flag and chanting "Death to America." Do you support that type of protest? Does it sound like this is pro-Palestinian or anti-American if they're burning American flags and chanting "Death to America"? Anti-Israel protesters blocking the Brooklyn Bridge burned the American flag and chanted "Death to America." Do you condemn this type of rhetoric?
There was a time when there were a few things that Americans could agree on, Democrat and Republican, black, white, Latino, men, women, there's certain things, right? What was the old Chevrolet commercial? Apple pie, hot dogs, and Chevrolet, right? A couple of just a handful of things. There was a time when most Americans could agree that it is wrong to chant "Death to America" in American streets as part of whatever you're protesting, however horrible it is. I had problems with "No Justice, No Peace," but it's a hell of a lot better than "Death to America." If you're in the United States of America and you're protesting using your First Amendment rights and the protection of the Constitution and the great protections that you are afforded thanks to men and women, mostly men, dying in combat over the last 250 years to keep you free, and then while enjoying those protections, you march in the streets chanting "Death to America," usually most of us could say that's wrong. But we found some people who think that it's just fine, or at the very least can't bring themselves to say that it's wrong. We'll start with the Piers Morgan show, where an American pro-Hamas activist was just fine with "Death to America."
Phrases and actions that have been taken at the protest haven't actually been violent. They haven't harmed anyone. And I don't think we should focus.
What do you think about people chanting "Death to America" as they did in one video clip?
I think that's just a phrase maybe said by an individual.
Well, no, the whole crowd began joining in.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So this guy said it, and then the whole crowd began chanting it. What would you condemn that?
I'm here to talk about the entire.
Hang on, you're here to answer my questions, actually. Would you condemn what they were chanting, "Death to America"?
I think we should condemn Palestinians actually being killed.
Okay.
I think that.
That's not the question I'm asking you. So I will ask you about Gaza. But on the question I asked you, would you condemn people in America chanting "Death to America"? What do you say?
I don't condemn how people choose to express their rage verbally. I don't condemn that, because at the end of the day, the reason they're saying that is because the U.S. is sending the tax dollars and the weapons that are actually creating.
So do you support them chanting "Death to America"?
I don't chant that myself, so I don't know why you're trying to trap me in this type of.
I'm asking you to
argument.
condemn it. You don't want to. So I'm asking. Do you therefore? Should I assume you support them chanting?
Those aren't the chants that I would personally do myself.
You must either. Hang on. Sorry. I just want an opinion on this. You must surely either condemn it or support it.
No, you don't need to.
You're neutral.
It's not a binary
thing. Terrifying.
How would anyone do you think, if they went to Gaza and chanted "Death to Palestine" with Hamas terrorists nearby?
Good question. And that's the best you're going to get with regard to an answer. That's her answer right there. She can't condemn "Death to America." Now, that's bad. That's really bad. But I know what you're thinking. Oh, Larry, they find one wackadoodle, one pro-Hamas, maybe even paid for by Iran kind of activist. And they, of course, they're just going to do what they're going to do because they're nuts. But that's not indicative of anything larger that we should worry about. Sure, there's a few nuts that chant "Death to America," and you find one woman wearing a hijab who refuses to condemn it. Come on. What's the big deal? Well, okay. How about members of Congress? How about Democrat members of Congress who were asked the exact same thing about chants of "Death to America"?
Anti-Israel protesters blocking the Brooklyn Bridge were burning the American flag and chanting "Death to America." Do you support that type of protest? Congresswoman? Do you support burning the American flag and chanting "Death to America"? Does it sound like this is pro-Palestinian or anti-American if they're burning American flags and chanting "Death to America"?
I'm not privy to I haven't seen these reports. I'd have to check for them myself.
Anti-Israel protesters blocking the Brooklyn Bridge burned the American flag and chanted "Death to America." Do you condemn this type of rhetoric?
We've got to get her onto her next event here.
Are you okay with people burning the American flag?
if you'd like to follow up with us. So.
Are you okay with people chanting death to America?
Sorry, we've got to head into...
Congresswoman Porter, are you okay with people chanting death to America? Is it okay? Do you not have a problem with it?
Happy to reach out here.
All right. So the first clip was Ayanna Pressley. The next one, of course, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That one was Katie Porter, who just lost the nomination for the U.S. Senate, Democrat nomination in California, to Adam Schiff. And none of them could bring themselves to say, yes, I condemn protesters chanting death to America. AOC at least said something, and she said, well, I'd have to confirm that. So she couldn't even answer it in a hypothetical. She could say, listen, I'll be honest with you. You're Fox News, so I'm suspicious of this. But if, in fact, there are chants of death to America on a protest, I don't care what their cause is. I don't care what they're supporting. If they're chanting death to America, they've lost the freaking plot, and I condemn that. They couldn't do that. Katie, my favorite is the press flack for Katie Porter, who's trying to get in the way here and claim, I got to get her to the next thing, so she has no time for this. She literally only had to do was turn her head and say, yes, I condemn it. She could have done it while she walked. It wasn't going to impede her progress. It wasn't going to keep her from getting to her next event. Watch.
The American flag and chanted death to America. Do you condemn this type of rhetoric?
We've got to get her onto her next event.
Yeah, that's fine,
okay
buddy.
with people burning the
She
American
can walk
flag?
And talk. Walk and talk.
Like to follow up with us. So.
Are you okay with people chanting death to America?
You know, you see this and you recognize why she lost to the likes of Adam Schiff. It's a simple question. So you have to ask yourself, why can't a Democrat actually condemn protesters chanting death to America? Why can't they? They know they should, right? Somewhere in them. That's why they're not actually saying, no, I won't condemn it. And here's why. Now, they're not saying that. They're just not saying anything. And here's what they're going to claim. I can tell you, I guarantee you, once they get together and figure out what their answer has to be on this, they're going to say, you know what? I so resent what Fox News does and who they are that I refused to talk to them and engage with them because I don't want to give them any content that they can use. And if that's really your plan, boy, how'd that work out for you guys? Because they got their content, so did we. In fact, it wouldn't be a story on Fox News or here at Town Hall, on Larry or anywhere else, if when asked, do you condemn protesters burning the American flag and screaming death to America, if you just said, yeah, I condemn that, that's wrong. Guess what? That's a dog bites man story. That doesn't get any headlines. Actually, to be fair, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, and Katie Porter actually saying that it's wrong to burn the American flag and chant death to America probably is news. That probably would make the news, now that I think about it. Meanwhile, leave it to a basketball coach, Auburn's basketball coach, Bruce Pearl, who actually, in his own way, articulated something more coherent and more understandable and more legitimate and true about these pro-Palestinian protests that he's seeing on college campuses than what any political figure could ever articulate, certainly for the Democrats. Bruce Pearl, by the way, I believe is Jewish, especially considering the name Pearl and the Israeli flag on his shelf there, which I really appreciate. He was the basketball coach for the Tennessee Volunteers, if I remember right. I like him. And now he's with Auburn, War Eagle. And down in Alabama, they don't really like this sort of thing. So Bruce Pearl speaks for all of us here.
Young people want a cause. They want to correct apartheid or oppression or a lack of freedom or humanitarian aid for lesser. And there's this thing called intersectionalism. And it blows my mind that somehow there's a connection between the LGBTQ community and Palestinian suffering or the Islamic cause or Hamas. If you are gay and you are in certain parts areas controlled by Hamas in Gaza or the Palestinian Authority in certain communities in Judea or Samaria, you're going to be killed. That's not allowed. But yet somehow those groups can come together and it's okay to just hate Jews. That's our common denominator. And that's out there. And American Jewry has got to wake up. October 7th and April 13th were enormous wake-up calls for Jewish Americans that don't think the Holocaust is possible again, or that our survival, not only in this country, but even in Israel. Israel's under attack every single day. If we lose Israel, where exactly are we supposed to go? Because in this country right now, there are many elected officials that are supporting Hamas and that are supporting Israel's enemies that call for her death right here in this country. We're seeing death to America chants, death to Israel, death to the Jews. It's not how I want it.
Yeah, there you go. That's how it's done. Good for you, Bruce Pearl. Well done. Go Auburn, War Eagle. That's how it's done. Is that so hard, Katie Porter? Is that so hard, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? It's not. And yet somehow you can't do it. Basketball coach can do it. You can't do it.